Charisse, I'll have it right. Let me get you to say and spell your first and last name and your position with the Fayette Area Historical Initiative.
I'm looking at you, right?
Yeah, you
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, my name is Charisse Hairston, and that is Charisse. Last name Hairston, Hairston, and I am the executive director.
Of the Fayette Area Historical Initiative.
Yes, executive director of Fayette Area Historical Initiative, or Fahey Museum.
There you go. In obviously in Martinsville.
Yes, Martinsville, Virginia.
Well, first of all, Charisse, thank you for your time. It's greatly appreciated. I gotta ask you, what was the driving force with putting a museum to honor the local African American professional athletes here in Martinsville-Henry County?
When I became the executive director of the museum, it was a goal of mine to get as many young people through this museum as possible. I feel like if they don't learn this history, then how does it continue into perpetuity? With that being said, I had a lot of young people to come through. They toured, they learned about the Tuskegee Airmen, the Buffalo Soldiers, the June German Ball, but I didn't see that flicker of light. I didn't see them seem excited about these people. And I started to realize that, unfortunately, so many of our young people, when they come from a small town, they don't feel like great people come here or great people come from here. So in doing this exhibit, what I was hoping to see is that they would get engaged, be excited. You have football players, basketball players, stuff that kids can relate to. And I wanted them to be able to see that and help it to inspire their future. That was the goal behind it.
And first of all, when did you start it and how long has it been in play?
So I became the executive director of Fahey in January of 2024. I wanted to make sure I had that date right because a year and a half and time goes.
That's right.
And when the museum actually opened 21 years ago in 2004, you had Linda Dillard and you had a board of directors then that they understood that this was history that needs to be gathered and it was need to be learned. It needs to be, individuals need to learn this type of history. They knew how important Fayette Street was and how important it was to the Black community. They started this, they did so much work. I hear about her all the time. They reenacted a June German Ball. Unfortunately, she was in a car wreck and was in a long-term coma. And then the board continued it. They had part-time directors in that interim. And then about 3 years ago, Harvest Foundation, Ms. Joyce Staples, who's my board chair, she applied for a grant with them. And to do that, she wanted to be able to get a full-time executive director. They were able to hire a full-time executive director, DeShonta Hairston. She did an excellent job while she was here. And then about a year into that, she transitioned to another position and I became the executive director.
So when you look at, and more the focus on the sports aspect of it, you said engagement. Mm-hmm. And obviously young people, for the most part, they love sports. But when you do a tour of this exhibit, what was the first day of the exhibit, by the way?
So the opening reception was last Friday, and this is the first week of the opening of the exhibit to the public.
Awesome. So when you give the tour of the exhibit, and you say to them, from Martinsville-Henry County, there have been 27 natives of the area that have gone on to play professional sports. What's the reaction you get? And that's part one. And part two, your reaction when it comes out of your mouth, say, hey, 27 athletes came from this area, they went pro.
It shocked me. I mean, in doing this research, I had to talk to this person who knew this person, this coach who coached way back in the day, this reporter who did sports over 40 years ago, things like that, to even find out some of these names. And then they kind of take you down that rabbit hole. They're like, yeah, I played with such and such. Check to see if he went pro. Or, I went to school with this one. He was awesome. Did he go pro? We don't know. And so it was fascinating to me. When you're in the process of doing it, you really don't understand the magnitude. The opening night, the opening reception, to have some of those athletes here, it dawned on me. At one point I was almost in tears because to see someone like Delvin Joyce drive up from Charlotte and say, this was even more than I expected. Now I need to come back and bring my entire family. or like Oliver McCall, he had his grandson that came in because him and his son both fought professionally. And his grandson never got to really see them in that element. So there's a video of his grandson like pointing and they're like, that's my papa, that's my dad, and he's holding his grandfather's championship belt. To see the pride that these guys felt, it's like I felt it. And I looked at a couple of the baseball players, and it was like they were in tears almost. I looked at Jeff Whitaker. He signed his jersey that night. His son was with him. Can you imagine the pride that he had showing his son that he was signing a jersey that he played in? It inspired them, and at the same time, it really made me feel like this was something worth doing.
When you look at, just the pride that you have, so, and the event that you have, and you talked about it really wasn't hard for you to get jerseys or memorabilia from these athletes. How special is it for you to just have that opportunity to talk to these athletes and their families, and B, just to get the memorabilia? Because obviously the memorabilia speaks for itself.
It does. What's really neat, I've talked to, we're trying to set up when my husband and I are going to have dinner with Delvin and his family and neighbors. When I went to pick his jersey up, I texted him. I said, I'll be in Charlotte. He said, good, here's the address. I'll be in Italy, but can you stop by my neighbor's house? And we stood and talked for 45 minutes to an hour. That was just neat to get to do that. I call Ed Reynolds Uncle Ed now and Aunt Pam, because he's been so willing to just say, Charisse, what do you need? How can I make this process easier? And what can I give you to really enhance what you're trying to do? That has meant a lot. My husband and I drove up to Charlottesville to pick up Sean Moore's jersey. And his son, who coaches for UVA, was just excited to hear about something like this. Carl Hairston, he's like, Charisse, text me anytime you need to. I text him the day for something. He's like, well, I'm in a meeting with the Arizona Cardinals. Stuff like that is exciting, right? And they're not treating it like I'm just a director trying to get something from them. They've all treated me like I'm family. And that's what's exciting. That's why it shows it's so important that you honor those individuals that are from your hometown, because they perceive it differently. There's a scripture that talks about a prophet doesn't get honor in their own home, right? And how many times have these guys collectively been honored? You may see at the schools that they played, you may see, a case that has some of their stuff in there or something about them. Or if they went to a school that is now an elementary school, a lot of times they're taking that stuff down and you don't even see the legacy that they left there. So for them to come here to the museum and see such a legacy and it's about them, they have treated, I don't know. It's like I'm family. I have a bunch of extra uncles and cousins and friends all of a sudden, and they're professional athletes.
From your perspective, how much does it help to have an executive director that's from here? Because you're from here. This is home for you. How much do you feel that helped with you obviously getting the memorabilia from the athletes who they're from here also?
My personality is I'm Charisse from Carver, right? And I think that registered. There's not a level of arrogance with me at all. And a lot of that just comes from, I know I grew up in an area that some people considers the hood, right? If you had told me that growing up, I would say, no, that's not the hood. But then I graduated and realized that so many individuals have, been incarcerated or have been killed and things like that from my area. So there's a level of humility that comes with that. And I understand that. I also understand the importance of things like this being highlighted because I am from here. I did grow up here, and not until I became the executive director of this museum did I know about any of this. To me, that's a problem. And so I think that was kind of relayed when I had these conversations. And I think my passion for it was relayed. And I think to have that, you have to be able to relate, which means you need to be able to come from the area.
What do you hope people get from this exhibit?
I want, especially the next generation, I want them to be inspired. When we hosted the Juneteenth Festival this past year, I asked my friend, former NBA player Gary Forbes. I met him at UVA. We became like brother and sister. And I asked Sylvia Crawley-Spann, former WNBA player, I asked them to come and host the festival. And they did. They came, they had a good time. I built a relationship with Sylvia that I didn't think I would have. And Gary, we've been friends for over 20 years, right? That just showed that great people will come here. While they were here, Gary went to some of the basketball camps and hung out with the kids, and that was fun, right? But it showed the kids, look at these people. They were NBA and WNBA players. They came here. Now with the exhibit, I want them to see, now look who came from here. With that being said, I feel like it will inspire their future. If they can honor their past and then they can truly be inspired by their future, it will help them truly celebrate freedom. And that's what I want to see with this next generation.
You mentioned the future. What's the future for the Fayette Area Historical Initiative? Because you talk about buildings and all that, but what's the future?
Well, the future, so we just did our 3-year strategic plan, which we will be releasing in September. And one of the goals is to build a new facility. That does not mean we're tearing down this facility. This is the Imperial Savings and Loan Bank, so it will not be destroyed. We're going to connect to it. And we'll be launching pretty soon a capital campaign. We're going to build a new 3-story facility. We want to be able to not just honor the things that happened in the past, but there's still history happening right now. And so we want to be able to capture that. The artists, still having first for everything. I want this sports exhibit to be permanent. I want to have a space where people can come and host events and things like that. It's not saying that they can't go anywhere else, but to have something in what was known as the Black Wall Street of this area, to have a place that they can come, host events, learn about the African American history, just come and feel comfortable. That's important to me.
And then finally, and I think you've mentioned this before, but I guess I'll ask it in a different manner. How much fun is this for you? Because it seems like I see a glow whenever you talk about the museum, but overall this exhibit, I mean, it really hits you in a way. You have a lot of emotional feelings about this.
I mean, I do. When I went to Lou Whitaker's home to pick up his items that he donated to the museum, it hit me while I was standing next to him that, like, this is Lou Whitaker. Like, this is sweet Lou Whitaker. This is, he won a World Series at some point in his life. And he's just standing here. I have pictures of me just holding his jersey and his bat, and he's smiling in it. And I'm like, I can just pick up the phone and call him. Oh, wow. Or like I said, being on the phone when I think Devon Claybrooks, I sent him a picture of the exhibit. He was like, wait a minute, my jersey needs to go up. So like to be able to call his mom and say, hey, Devon wants me to come pick up his jersey. And she's like, oh, I know, it's ready for you, come get it, right? That's exciting. For Nikki Fisher, he wasn't able to come to the opening night. He sent a representative to come in his stead and then said, when can I come? It's exciting. It's exciting, one, because look at what we have. But it's also exciting because look how down to earth these people are. And look how I've been able to connect with them even beyond the exhibit. And they're just so open. What do you need me to do? What's next? That's exciting. That's exciting.
And finally, talk about September. You got September 5th coming up. That's a big event. Talk about that.
Yes. So I always say it's one thing to have a vision, right? You test your leadership by people getting on board with it. So when you tell me, hey, what do you need me to do? I will give you a list of things I need you to do. So Mr. Reynolds, Ed Reynolds, Sean Moore, Nikki Fisher, they were like, we weren't able to come to the opening night, so let's come do a meet and greet. And I set the date honestly based on Mr. Moore's schedule because he still works with the UVA football team. And they're going to come do a meet and greet. And then we're going to go to the Magna Vista versus Martinsville football game at Magna Vista. Haven't quite decided what they're going to do at that game, but they're going to come. It's a great time for you to get to meet these individuals. And while I would say some of our 55 and up, they probably grew up, they knew these people growing up. For my generation and younger, this is exciting because you hear about this athlete and that athlete. Now you get to meet some of the actual true legends, and they're from the schools that you went to. I'm excited.
Is there anything else I missed or anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm just encouraging everyone, come out, check out the exhibit. Get engaged with your local museum. We have memberships. If you want to still see the things that we do, you want to see that move forward, get engaged with it and reach out to me. I would love to have you as a volunteer, definitely as a member, and I would love to see your groups come through and tour.
Ms. Hairston, you're awesome. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you giving me the time today.
Thank you for having me.
That's awesome.